Many of us buy goods or services on behalf of Jemena. It's important we all follow Jemena's procurement process. It makes everyone's job simpler, helps us maintain a good reputation with our vendors, and ensures we record costs correctly. Here's the procurement process if you're spending between $10,000 and $250,000. First, see if Jemena has an existing agreement for the goods or services you're trying to purchase. If there is no agreement, obtain 3 quotes. Then create a contract with the vendor. Load your contract with your 3 quotes attached into SAP for approval. Next, create a purchase requisition and reference the contract. Once your purchase requisition is approved, raise a purchase order and give the purchase order number to the vendor so they can place it on their invoice. No purchase order, no payment. As soon as you receive your goods or service, perform a goods receipt in SAP which will record the costs. Your vendor sends their invoice direct to accounts payable, quoting the purchase order, and matches the purchase order, goods receipt and invoice in SAP. The accounts team pays the vendor when due. And guess what? If your purchase is under $10,000, you don't need to set up a contract in SAP. Let's look at a real-life example of how it works. Meet Fiona. Fiona needs to buy some office furniture to set up a small office in a remote location. Before buying the furniture, she needs to consider the HSE implications. Fiona wants to see if there is an existing vendor contracted to Jemena from whom she can buy the furniture. She checks the current contracted suppliers list on the intranet. Fiona can't find anyone on the list, so she rings 3 vendors to get quotes. The best quote is $11,500. Fiona attaches her quotes to a SAP contract, which is then approved, and then raises a purchase requisition for $11,500. If Fiona doesn't get 3 quotes, or doesn't create a contract, or reference the contract to a purchase requisition, the system will send it straight to her general manager for approval as a waiver of competition. Fiona receives approval to proceed. She creates a purchase order in SAP for the office furniture and supplies the purchase order number to the vendor so they can place it on their invoice. No purchase order, no payment. Fiona receives the furniture she ordered and immediately completes a goods receipt in SAP, which will record the costs. Accounts payable receives the invoice directly from the vendor and matches the purchase order, goods receipt, and invoice in SAP. The accounts team pays the vendor when due. If Fiona doesn't complete a goods receipt, payment won't be made. Late payments can lead to the vendor refusing to provide goods or services to Jemena next time. So remember, contracts count. Make sure you get 3 quotes and reference a contract in SAP when you are purchasing something over $10,000. Make sure you give the vendor a valid purchase order to place on their invoice. And finally, as soon as your goods or service is received, perform a goods receipt in SAP so vendors can be paid on time. For more information, check out the procurement policy on Jemena's intranet.